really interesting recruiting for Worcester this season, particularly a really interesting new fly half. Can you talk about what your kind of plan for recruitment was and how you kind of landed on these particular players?
Yeah, I think for us there was a couple of key positions, fly half being one of them, where we needed some more depth. Sarah Nicholas made the decision due to her career to step away last year, so losing her, we knew that we needed to recruit in that position, and there's not an awful lot of fly halves around the UK at the moment. So Leslie, who coaches Japan, who I know, got in touch and said she had a fly half that she thought would really benefit from playing in the league over here, and that's what started the conversations really. And I was so impressed with her kind of maturity and professionalism when we spoke to her on the call. We made the decision, to bring her over, and she's been a great addition. She's doing really well, and it's a big culture shift for her, but the girls have been massively supportive, and I think she'll do really well in this league.
Awesome, thank you. And Lyndsay, for yourself, a bit of a tough season last season with injury, and not just for yourself, I guess Joe Brown as well. How are you finding kind of being back in the mix this season?
Yeah, really excited. I've been fortunate. I've had a really good run in pre-season, so feeling back to fitness and on form, and just really excited to get out there and string a couple of games together. Hopefully stay injury free and help support the team as best I can.
Awesome. And last one from me. It feels like there's a real kind of unity building at Worcester and a bit of momentum building there. What's your target as a team for this season?
Ultimately, it's to keep moving up the league. I don't think we've never wanted to go down the route of quick fixes. We want to create a sustainable squad, and therefore we want to continue to bring players through. But we also are aware that we needed a little bit more experience, which I think we've added to the squad with this season. So, and like you say, the unity part for us is massive, and that's where it was tough last year with COVID, because we couldn't really build on that as a squad because of the amount. We couldn't have any time together. We were in and out of training in our small groups, whereas this year, to have the opportunity to allow the squad to gel and get to know each other a bit better, it's been really important.
Awesome. Thanks very much, and all the best for the season.
Thank you.
Dave, you've been at Harlequins, who obviously have a really strong women's side alongside a strong men's side. At Bristol, who've got that affiliation. We're now seeing more and more Gallagher Prem clubs announce their intention to launch a women's team. Do you think having that infrastructure from a men's side is kind of beneficial in launching a women's team, or do you think it can overshadow?
No, I really do. And I think when we can get to this where we can almost mirror the men's game within our own system, definitely, I think it's going to be only beneficial. Certainly, even for me, just being around the likes of the Bristol men's coaches, the men's media team, the men's strategy team, has helped my understanding of the game and the business model as well behind it. So I think that's sort of, we can jump in at level 5 rather than jumping back at level 1, certainly for the other franchises. I think it's brilliant. The likes of London Irish, Leicester, Bath have come out publicly, and we all know to get one. So for me, it can only be great for the women's game. What still, I suppose, is my only slight concern is making sure the quality is high. I think it will be the most competitive Allianz Premiership we've seen this season. But we now, if all those 4 teams come in, we know if we go and find another 160 players to keep that competitive edge. So that will be the challenge. I think the players are there. I see it in the Centre of Excellence programs all the time. These girls have been playing rugby since they were 5, better than the boys. I mean, why not make that comparison? I know people say, "Oh, don't compare them to the boys," but actually, when they're doing something, and people are like, "Oh, this, and this," actually, these girls are coming through, and they've got the rugby mindset, they've got the rugby knowledge, and where women's rugby can be in 5 years is a lot higher than kind of where it is now. It's up to us, obviously, the coaches and the players, but including you guys as well, to make sure that we're pushing it. I mean, I've not put any women's rugby for a while. And for me, you know, and I'm not calling anyone out because it's not my place to do it, but I want to see that promoted. I want to see it pushed because, like I said, the games I've seen, certainly recently, have been some of the best games of rugby I've seen, full stop.
Awesome. Thanks very much. Irish held their first Talent ID Day and had around 50 people turn up, 50 girls who'd not been associated with any of the other clubs in the catchment area, so Quins or Wasps or anyone like that. Just wondering what your thoughts are on the framework below the Premier 15s and what needs to be done to make sure that we maximise the potential there.
Yeah, I mean, and this is, I think, Matt, one of the biggest, I was going to use the wrong word there, I was going to say issues, but not an issue. It's how the game grows and how we develop the right sort of pathways for the development of it. And it's great. You hear a lot of the talk that I hear is about, you know, Leicester getting involved and Northampton getting involved and Bath wanting to be involved and London Irish getting involved. Well, that actually shows one thing, that the women's game is growing, but we have to make sure that we have the right controls over that. And also it opens up a much bigger conversation as well, is in terms of the structure of the game, that since professionalism in the men's game, and I don't like talking about the men's and women's, but for want of this, it's the easier thing. We've learnt a lot of lessons, or should have learnt a lot of lessons. And as the women's game grows, I would like to think that with the experiences we have, both within club and, you know, unions across the world, that we'll learn the lessons. We'll learn the lessons when it comes to the calendar. We'll learn the lessons when it comes to commercialising, where that money goes, how that money goes, salary capping, pathways, academies, you know, centres of excellence, how they're run, giving the opportunity for young girls. I told Rachael Burford, I was down at a session that actually my daughter was training in, and Rachael just said to me, "I heard your daughter like the rugby," and I said, "Yeah, I did, but I don't want to force it down. I can't ever say this is the sport you need to play." So everything about, and listen to Graham. I was in Twickenham yesterday, and one of the, I don't know, does Emily know this? One of the women that works in the office, Valentina, who's in legal and governance, is actually now coaching down there with the girls' team. So it's just this huge growth, but with growth comes challenge. Comes challenge in terms of quality of coaching, more emphasis and more scrutiny on everything that's been done. So we have huge challenges in this, but keep on coming back to think of where we are and where we've got the game to and where it could go to. And that's I think you talk about what gets you up out of bed in the morning, and the role I have is broad. But one of the things that's excited me the most since I've come back has been, you know, to see the growth within the women's game. So I think it's great, and it's nice to hear. I think up there in the map that Graham and Gary Street are involved up there as well. So, you know, those guys have stayed in the game, but it's nice to see someone like Valentina. I know she's in the governance side of the union. Nice to see people like her getting involved as well.
Thanks very much. Kate, to start with, how's pre-season going? What's the atmosphere like in the team?
Yeah, I think Wasps is quite renowned for its weird and wonderful pre-seasons, and this year has been no different. So we started what feels like about 5 minutes ago with our Richmond Hill cardio sessions and gym sessions down the club, and it's transpired all the way through to wild camping in Dartmoor and playing against Exeter Chiefs in front of like 3,000 fans. So it's been, as it is every year, interesting. Physically challenging, mentally quite bonding, but the way that Giselle plans it always, you know, she talked about making people Wasps very, very quickly. How she does it has that effect and has that outcome. So the squad's in a really good place, kind of mentally and physically.
Awesome. You look like you had fun playing dress up as pirates.
Honestly, every year I think she's going to run out of ideas, but lo and behold, yeah, there they all were in pirates on a ship down in the West Country. So I can only wonder what next year will hold.
You can tell. And Giselle, from your point of view, you talked about Bryony coming in. How did that move come about? And in general, are you comfortable with the recruitment that you've done for this season?
Yes, we've got some really good new additions, some young players, some very experienced players, and it's always good to add fresh blood, so to speak, to a squad. It always brings new things, which keeps everybody fresh. With Bryony, I think that for some players, when you've been at a space for a long period of time, you just need a change in order that you can keep moving forward and keep developing as a player. And Bryony is very keen to do just that, and to challenge herself. And I think, some players, do really, really well when they stay at the same place, and other players need a freshening up from time to time. And I think that's where we are with Bryony. So, and we are really, really looking forward to getting on, pulling the shirt on Saturday.
Awesome, thanks very much. And last one from me, Kate. Wasps came so close last season in a fantastic game up at the Stoop. How do you take it one better this year?
I think that's something that we've looked at for the last couple of seasons, and I think it feels like, whereas previous years, I think we've lost in semi-finals due to maybe larger factors. So whether that be physicality, whether it be our defence, and don't get me wrong, Quins played well this year, but we feel like it's very small differences that we need to look at, even kind of from a mentality perspective, because physically, we train well, we perform well. I think last year we played a lot of running rugby, which is how Wasps like to play. So I think this year it comes down to those really fine margins, and we're looking a lot at things like psychology and kind of the attitude that we take to the pitch. And a lot of Giselle's pre-season, again, kind of as weird and wonderful as it sounds, has an underlying idea of our attitude when we take to the pitch, because like you said, we've come really close. But I think from my perspective as a player who's kind of been on the field for those years and those semi-finals, it's felt like we've maybe lost on slightly bigger things previously, whereas this year it felt like we were very, very close. And if we can unlock that last little 2%, I think you'll be seeing us in that final.
Awesome. Well, all the best for it to both of you. Have a great season. We spoke to Conor earlier, and he was talking about the importance of not only a player pathway, but also a coaching pathway. Conscious you've got both Rocky and Tamara involved in coaching as well as playing at Saracens. How important is that to you to have that kind of link between the players and the coaches there, with people with a foot in both camps, as it were?
Yeah, look, player coaching is a real difficult balance. It's something that that Rocky and Tam are doing quite well. But I think that probably the thing that I'd add as the most important bit is that there's immense amount of talent as players, but immense amount of rugby knowledge and experience, and that Tam and Rocky have been there and done it on every stage. So that is fundamental in capturing that, and that as a club we see that as fundamentally important. And the wider game, we can't afford to hemorrhage and lose talent. I mean, I've been lucky enough to coach with people like Amy Garner, people like Claire Frost, like legends of Saracens rugby, but also legends of the game. And we need to capture that, because their experiences will help shape and mould the future England stars. So it's not just something that we do that we've done with Tam and Rocky. We've also got a number of our other players supporting them through their coaching badges, so that again their integration into player coach and then ultimately into coaching is one that's been supported and is essentially seamless. And I think that's the biggest thing. These players have had, I use Jo Yapp as an example, another club, an immense player. Her coaching is she's one of the best coaches I'd say in world rugby. We've got to capture that, and it will aid our performance, but it also aids and fast track the development of players. And ultimately, my job is to make sure that we get players to where they can get to maximising potential. And with the likes of Rocky, the likes of Tam, etc., they're fundamental in that.
Awesome. Thanks very much. Mo, just wondering if we get your perspective on going back to kind of standard laws, and are you looking forward to a few scrums so you can have a breather?
I'm absolutely buzzing for the scrums to be back, to be honest. I'm not sure whether it's for me to have a breather, because I spend my whole time telling them what job's next. But yeah, just about getting our backs on the ball. Obviously, when we're having a line out, a 5-man line up, normally most people have got a couple people out in the back line, and there's no room for any of our speedsters to exploit. So the likes of Ellie Underwood, the likes of Kelly Smith, getting them some ball in hand with a broken backfield or a back three that have to sit in the backfield in case we kick is going to be really exciting for us, and we're really looking forward to actually getting to play some rugby.
Awesome. And obviously you were at the Olympics, not necessarily how we'd like it to end, but a huge amount of eyes on the game. When you've got Snoop Dogg talking about your sport, you know something's gone right. How do we carry that momentum over into the 15s?
It's just visibility for me. Obviously, the fact that we were on BBC, the fact that people were brought into the Olympics and that we were being shown on prime time and people were getting involved. People love the sport when they can see the sport. I think we've seen that throughout everything we've done. Obviously, having the final on BT Sport, having it broadcast across England Rugby throughout the year, I think is so important that people know how to watch us and then are able to go and watch us. So for me, it's just about visibility. It's about getting out there and making sure that the promotion as well is all behind it. So really, really important. But obviously England Rugby doing a fab job, getting more and more live streams on. And I think that's going to be huge for us this year.
Awesome. Thanks very much. All the best for the season.
Thank you.
Gerard, obviously a fantastic season last season for Quins, everything you could have hoped it could have been. How do you maintain that going forward?
Look, I think we've done good, honest. Look, it was a great year, but we've done good, honest assessments of where we can improve as a group and a program. I think we've recruited well and we've made some good change in the program, and we just want to stay true to our own standards and keep pushing the boundaries. And we feel if we do that, we'll continue to be successful, and hopefully we'll achieve a double, really. But I think we're only looking to keep pushing on and keep the foot on the pedal, really.
Absolutely, and on that basis, a couple of key players moving on, but some big names coming in as well, and a lot of signings from your rivals in Saracens. How are the new players bedding in?
Yeah, I think the nature of the way the game is growing, you're going to see more transfers every season. Obviously, we wish Leanne and Abby all the best, but we're really happy with the players we've brought in. The two girls from Saracen settled in well in Rosie and Emma Swords. Eddie Gildun's been fantastic in training. Really excited to see her go. Beth Blacklock, a young player with a lot of potential, someone we tracked for quite a while, really. And look, Sarah Bonner in the row as well. She's obviously had a bit of a lot of Scotland camps, but look, she's a great person, and we're really happy with the depth we have in the squad. I think that's probably our main competitive advantage this year. Is probably won't be known massively externally, but I think the amount of depth we have in the squad and the competition we have in training is really increasing our intensity in training.
Awesome. And just one for you. With all these new players coming in, have you made Beth well aware you're not giving up that 12 shirt easily?
Yeah, no. I mean, we've got a really good competitive squad, and you need that strength and depth to win a league that's going to be as competitive as it is. And yeah, Beth's come in, and look, Izzy Mayhew did a brilliant job last season as well. So at the moment, them two are fighting it out, and yeah, I'll have to come in and get in that mix of fighting for the shirt again. Awesome. And just before I go, how are things going with the injury? Yeah, really in a really good place at the moment, progressing on really quickly now. Kind of went from 0 to 100, and now getting pushed pretty hard by the physios and the S&C. But yeah, in a much better place now. Thanks for asking.
Awesome. All the best for the season, both.
Thank you.